What do you think of when you try to envision the all-time classic American dry fly? Some will think the Adams or maybe any Catskill dry fly. Some might even say the elk hair caddis, which I do think is moving into legendary status. But a lot of people would think this one, the Royal Coachman. And this guy does have a pretty interesting history. If you're not familiar, the original one was just the Coachman, created by Tom Bosworth in the 1830s. He was a carriage driver, or coachman, for several of the British monarchs. His original was a wet fly, just a Peacock Herl body, a brown soft hackle up front, and then some white wings. Then one change was making the wings from gray duck slips, so it became a lead wing Coachman. Both these versions made it over to the States, and by the late 1800s was one of our most popular flies. And it was prominently featured in Mary Orris Marbury's favorite flies in their histories from 1892. Now back up a little bit to 1878, and John Haley, a professional fly dresser and shop owner in New York City, added the red band just to make it a little bit more durable. He also added a tail which was barred wood duck. Now it was still a wet fly, but with that change, the Royal Coachman was born. Now fast forward again to the late 1800s and famed Catskill tyer Theodore Gordon, who was on his kick of turning wet flies into dry flies, did it with this one. And gradually the barred wood duck tail gave way to golden pheasant tippets, and you might even see it today tied with brown hackle fibers for a tail, or even deer or elk. Now the original Coachman, the almost 200-year-old British wet fly, is still one of the best patterns ever created. But what John Haley and Theodore Gordon did was make it royal, and some would say the most iconic American fly ever. So if you haven't tied or fished one of these things in a while, give it another shot. It's not really a difficult tie, and if you get it right, it is just a beautiful, elegant pattern that still catches a lot of fish. So there it is in the vise, one of the all-time classic American dry flies, the Royal Coachman. Now, I'm tying this one on a size 16. This is a 1 extra long barbless dry fly hook. And I'm going to be using black thread. This is a 52 denier from the Fly Smith. I'm really liking this thread so far. So just catch it in somewhere in the middle. We'll take it back to the start of the bend. Now you've got an option. You want to catch in your wing or your tail first. I've been doing the tail first today, and I think it's making it a little bit easier. So grab one of the smallest golden pheasant tippet feathers you have. Because this is, well, maybe not the smallest. If you're tying it on a size 16, you probably want it pretty small. And I will grab the tips, put my scissors in here, and then just snip off about 10 fibers or so. And if you do it this way, you might keep the tips aligned. So let's go right there, and I'm grabbing a small feather because I do want 2 barbs showing. 2 of those black bars on those showing. I think it looks a little bit better. Really not a big deal one way or the other, but we'll go ahead and bury those nubs right there and take our thread up front, not too close, because where we post our wing up, I'm going to want at least 3 or 4 hackle wraps up in front of it. Now we're going to catch in our wing, and you have a choice here too. I think it's personal preference. Do you want the tips kind of going forward or going back? I like them going forward, so I'm going to tie them in like this. And I don't spend a lot of time on these white duck slips because really, by the time we're done with this fly, they're probably going to be kind of mangled up anyway, and certainly after a few fish. I will try to get them with the convex sides together so that they do splay out a little bit. I think that will make it just a little bit easier. So I'm going to lay them on right here, trying to judge the height I want. So pull some extra thread out, put a loose wrap over it, and then catch it in going up on this side. Now, before I really secure them, are those wings coming off the top close enough? Maybe not. Let's back it off and then try that one more time. Okay, that is a little better, but let's just go ahead and try to make sure they're on top. Okay, I think I'm going to be able to work with that. I mangled up my tail a little bit, but we'll be fine. Few extra wraps right here, locking this feather in, going back. Now we can snip this, and you don't have to get this terribly close because that part is going to be covered with some Peacock Herl. So let's take our thread back up to these wings, and we're going to prop them up. So lift up and then take several wraps up under it, as many as you need so that you get them sticking up. Okay, now they are sticking up how I want, but they're a little bit close together. So I'm going to take my bodkin and then just try to spread them out a little bit, and I'm going to put some X-wraps in between them. Now this is where we might start to mangle them up just a little bit. But again, if so, I wouldn't worry too much about it. And I wouldn't spend all that much time trying to get these perfect right here, because you can always kind of position them when we're wrapping our front hackle here in just a minute. So let's go ahead and take our thread to the back. And now we're going to catch in 2 strands of Peacock Herl. And 1 or 2 strands would actually be fine here. I'm going to go with 2 just because. I'll put these in, catch them in several wraps, I guess, right here. I can leave my thread right there. I've got enough wraps so I can probably just break those brittle ends right there. Now I'm going to leave my thread where it is and take about 4 wraps of this herl. Do have to watch the point of your hook though. It will break. They're pretty brittle if you accidentally nick it on your hook point. But this butt section, maybe 4 wraps I think is going to be fine. So let's go ahead and catch that off with our herl on the top. And we want it on the top so that we can just kind of lay it forward right here. And now you could snip it off and then catch that herl in again after you've done the middle band. But, you know, it just depends. Is that going to get in your way, this going forward right here? And not really, you can kind of work around it. So I'm taking a few extra wraps, creating a little flat area right here where I'm going to catch in the red floss. So I've got a single strand of red floss right here, and I'll catch it in with 2 kind of loose wraps so that I can pull that back and I won't have any to snip up front. So that should work right there. Now we'll just wrap this floss and make as thick a body as you want. You don't want it as thick as that herl, but you want it thick enough, a couple of layers at least, so that you can really see this red. And I'm trying to do it without making it too bulbous here. And now I got a little bit of a bulb. It's not perfectly flat, but it's going to work. So we'll catch this off with 2 wraps and snip this excess floss here. And now I'm going to wrap this herl, the front part of the body. And my goal here will be to just get about the same amount of herl as I have in the back. Okay, I think that's fine right there. And you can see I've already jostled those wings around a little bit more than I'd want, but that's fine. I'll show you what I'm talking about, how we can help reposition them by wrapping this hackle. And the hackle, it's just a brown, sometimes called a Coachman brown, about 1 to 1.5 times the hook gap. I think that's going to work right there. And let's catch this in right in front of that herl, right behind the wings. 2 or 3 wraps. We'll take the thread up forward, lock that stem in, and snip the excess here. And now I'm going to wrap. Usually I do 2 or 3 wraps behind it. In this case, I might be able to get 4, and then I'm probably going to want at least 3 in front. I mean, I like these pretty heavily hackled for the waters that I fish it in. So I wasn't counting. I think that's 3 behind. We'll see if we can get 3 in front as well. So I kind of prop those wings back up with that wrap right there. Now that's pretty bushy right there. Should I risk it and go 1 more? Yeah, I am. Living a little bit on the edge right here. Let's go ahead and secure this feather in. Okay, that's 2 wraps. Let's go 3. Now snip this excess, and we're going to have room for our whip finish. Yeah, I think we are. Just pull this back a little bit right here. A couple extra wraps, flatten this area out. And now I'll get my whip finish in here before all those barbs spring forward again. Might have to zigzag it a little bit through here, but that's not a big deal. And it looks like I trapped a couple barbs going forward. We'll take care of these in just a second. Can snip them or go in here and singe them, or probably just not worry about it. Quick drop of head cement just right here on top of these wraps. A little bit, that's UV resin actually. And don't worry too much if it wicks into the bottom layer of that hackle. It's not going to impact how it fishes. A few seconds with the torch. Now something I've gone to doing recently, I keep some tippet on my bench. This is just a piece of 4X, and I test the fly before I'm done with it. If I can get this 4X up through that eye, then I know I'll be able to get 5X through it when I'm on the river. So this one, that works. That's a decent fishable fly, and it's going in my box. So that's it, my friends. I appreciate you watching. Y'all take care, and we'll see you next time.